Hello, everyone. I'm still Shawn Reynaldo. I'm still here. I will be here all day. So this is panel number 2, and what is it called? I think it's called "This is what community looks like." I know community is like one of the most like overused. It's like one of the worst words now. Dance music has a tendency to ruin every bit of terminology, but we'll get into that. But I have a very esteemed group of panelists from different parts of the world, throwing different kinds of events, and yeah, we're gonna get into it. So instead of me introducing, why don't each of you introduce yourselves, who you are, where you're from, what you're, what venue or festival or party you're involved in. So you can go.
Okay, I guess it's my part of being close by. Hello, everyone. I'm Julianna Cuervo. I came from Medellín, Colombia, to this place just for this talk. And English is not my main language, so please forgive me if I invent some words and probably do some Spanglish during the talk. Okay. Well, I like to consider myself like a very curious person, and this curiosity has made me part of different kind of projects, from collectives to activism. I also had a record shop in Medellín, Colombia before, and the main project and the reason why I'm here is a project named Bamba. It's a collective, kind of new one, almost 2 years next April. And it's a collective that was built in order to create like a more horizontal relations in the nightlife, especially. We do like many things, from workshops to talks, and also like a lot of work with the community, this word very used, but I don't know how to say it in English. So yeah, thanks for inviting me and being part of this.
It's okay for everyone to say community. I know I ruined it right off the bat, but feel free to use the word community.
So, hi everyone, my name is Saša. I come from Slovenia, but I've been living in Amsterdam for the last year. I'm part of Butik Festival. Besides that, I'm also playing and producing music. Doing my own parties. I've been involved in the music scene for probably the last 20 years. I also did for a briefly period of time, online digital kind of a magazine to emphasize the Eastern Europe scene, but as it's not the easy job to do the magazine, and I did it mostly myself, but it was too much at some point. So now since 2019 I'm a part of Butik team.
Hi everyone. My name is James Newmarch. I'm the technical manager of Fold in London. I'm also the co-founder of our Sunday kind of community event Unfold. Thanks for having us.
I wanted to start out, actually we'll start with you, because I think, dance music is a very crowded and competitive space, especially in a place like London. So how do you distinguish yourself from the crowd of other promoters, other events, and do it in a way that's not just like, oh, I'm going to book whoever the biggest names are to draw the biggest crowd?
Yeah, it's a good point, because you are right, it is very oversaturated in London, especially we don't really try and distinguish ourselves, to be honest. I mean, and I think that kind of helps us to distinguish ourselves more. We kind of just really push our key values, which are great production and building like a safer space for all of our clientele. And just by consistently doing that and trying to make a consistently repeatable experience for the people who come to our space is what defines us. And we don't really shout about it. We try and just keep it kind of rolling and keep it going. And that's kind of our main output.
All right. Well, Butik Festival, I'm going to guess most people in the room don't know anything about Slovenia. Especially not like the nightlife, the particulars of it. So is putting on a festival there an issue of, is there competition that you're up against, or is it just trying to get it off the ground?
I think, speaking of competition, I wouldn't say there is any, because the clubbing scene or the nightlife scene in terms of electronic music is rather small, niche in a way. But we do have strong collectives. They each kind of form their own communities, and that was basically the base for our festival in a way, because we figured the only way to make a difference in a way is to bring all of these collectives together under one kind of roof, and to show that together we can prevail, we can show kind of an example. Because in the past, I think it was more competitive within the older generation in the scene in Slovenia. They were kind of, I wouldn't say fighting, but in theory they were like, yeah, we're collaborating, but they were essentially not. So I think that was the first step that kind of showed even us that this is the only way to do it. Because we in Slovenia, we currently have one club, proper club. It's K4, it's called. Other than that, it's just like kind of a dead scene, and it's all goes to individual collectives doing their own parties in like partially legal venues, and trying to find their way. It's kind of a hustling, but I think that also brings certain emotion to the craft and to the festival itself. For example, to us, because nothing was there like this. We had to kind of fight for it, and it took quite a lot of effort to build what it is in a way now. So.
All right. Well, I know you said, your party or collective is a relatively new thing, just 2 years old. But I know you've also been involved in the nightlife in Colombia for many, many years. What prompted you to start this latest venture that you're doing, and what do you think separates it from what else is happening in yeah?
Well, I've been doing actively part of the scene for almost 18 years now. 10 of them I was part of another collective called Move. Actually, was the first time SAC came to Medellín was with us. And many things happened after pandemic that, of course, I lived the project. I love my they are actually my brothers, and when I was listen to Aries and Noctocta, like the people that are helping you, I probably said Move was like my school for me. So I learned a lot with them, and I was thinking like, what is? I mean, after pandemic, everything changed, but in Medellín, Colombia, we just have this situation of gentrification. Big gentrification. And this also came with a reality that a lot of big festivals are coming to our city. So actually they are our biggest competitions. And this is also named Live Nation things. So we were, Bamba is collective May of 5. My friends and I were thinking how can make the local thing back again, because we lost the city for, I mean, the usual places where we throw parties or go for party now are for foreigners. So how can we do back again this, like all the collectiveness and people and public, of course, because the party and the places for us to play were get lost. So that's why we decided to bring this. I don't like to call it a party because I think Bamba is beyond that. It's more like a kind of experience related to crafts and music, and I know like the honor of music as well. So that's why it's kind of related, because it started from very small, and we are like trying to also learn from the past, because I lost a lot of money to an event. So it's like, how can I make this at least sustainable for all of us, not just in terms of money, but also like I can bring back to the people, not just like a party, like, oh, I want your money for the tickets. And it's like, how can I make this sustainable in the time? So that's how I born and how we work.
How do you approach, I mean, one of the easiest ways to establish, I mean, to use another terrible word, like a brand or an identity as, you know, as an event is through booking, you know, like, you know, it sends a message about what your values are, what your priorities are, what kind of music there's going to be, obviously. So how do each of you approach booking, and would you say it's an important component of what you do?
So, I mean, for Unfold especially, it started very small, and the booking ethos has kind of stayed the same since the start, and now we're on our like over our 100th edition. And it's always been focused around mainly booking locals who are like within our like local area in our scene, and we kind of augment that with maybe a couple of bigger bookings here and there, but it's mainly down to booking people who are like real within our spaces, who are also kind of like pushing their own things, whether it be like running labels or making music or just generally being like good pillars of people. And that what we found is really helped nurture it. And by having the kind of injection of bigger names into that as well, it kind of gives these people who it might be their first or second gig playing alongside bigger names, and they can meet these people and share these experiences. And like it's just kind of that mindset that we've taken throughout it, and it's kind of worked well. Like,
I mean, I was gonna say, I feel like every scene, there are people that like are working. They're not necessarily the biggest headliners, but they're like the connectors in a scene where they know everyone. Do you make a point to like try and find those people and give them a platform?
Yeah, for sure. Like exactly how you said it, there are people who are slogging away in their local scenes who don't get the recognition that they should, and we try and find those people who are generally usually the nicer people in the scene, and we often tend to avoid people who will hit us up because they've seen what we do online and they kind of want a piece of it, and we kind of tend to push that aside and make the space for the people who actually come to the events and experience it.
What about at Butik?
Yeah, as I've said, so the kind of foundation was to bring in the local crews, collectives, because we felt this was the only right way to do, and to give them a spot, maybe, and place where they can be seen and heard, where originally they maybe wouldn't have that chance. And so the programming is done by myself and Andras, so we do it together. We have a few rules or like pinpoints that we try to follow. One is to have, again, this local part of lineup, I mean the artist representative fairly. So as much as possible, we're trying to aim like 40-50% even. Then also to have like, for example, 10% of the international guests is the maximum what we repeat each year, because we feel there's so many good artists and we want to keep it fresh. We want to keep it interesting also for us to be searching for new talents. And similar as he said, not maybe going for the obvious choices, even though you know it's hard sometimes, but yeah, we try to do like kind of cohesive way. And what I think also for us is important, rather for the names, we book for the energy. So for example, we want to see and understand what kind of vibe and energy we want at a certain place, at a certain stage, at a certain time, and then we approach who can give us that, and then we kind of build around that. And the whole spectrum of the lineup from the day zero, from the last festival, has to be kind of a collective, so everything goes fluently throughout the days, which is again not an easy task, but sometimes we do it better, sometimes we don't do it better, but we try to learn from the, not mistakes, but like from the past experiences and try to get better. So yeah.
Julianna, what about you? I mean, dance music, one thing about it is it's so Eurocentric. Almost all of the like name artists live in Europe. And getting them to come to a place like Medellín is a challenge, or they might only come once a year. So how do you approach booking?
There are like, well, I have to say different things. First, we approach booking. I mean, we try to understand our context. That's the first thing, because I think it's not a wrong decision, but I understand that many of my partners in Latin America want to emulate, I don't know, like a Dekmantel, or like to create like any other brand that come from Europe, and that's okay. But what I've learned during the time is that we have to understand our context. And my context in Latin America is that people dance reggaeton and salsa and whatever other kind of music, not electronic music. I mean, there's a big amount of people, but it's not kind of the same regular that can go every weekend like here in Amsterdam, you know? So our creational stuff, it's first start with that to understand the context. So we try to build like very diverse, not only in terms of genres, it's only also in musical genres as well. So we try to have, for example, in this last edition, we had DJs from Cumbia. We had Edna Martinez that she have built this nice transition between champeta and UK sounds. And we also have Identify Patient, you know, like in the same, in three different rooms, but that was like a really nice, interesting like experiment, and it worked really well, especially for those people that came for dancing, because we are forgetting of dancing in the electronic music. So that's why we try to bring people that still interested in that. That's the first thing, and the second. Well, in Medellín and South America is a huge scene, a beautiful one, and that has a lot of money as well. And I think this has to be a problem as well, because especially the Euro artists are really wanted to be paid a lot in this area, and I think that's only can be affordable by a small amount of promoters, more related, of course, to biggest companies or investments. So I think it's kind of hard sometimes to build that relation. And our main goal is, like you said, like the energy that also the artists can bring us, like, and the energy and the, I mean, like connection. Like, what do you want to bring here to connect with the people? And that's really nice when it happens.
Maybe something to add also, I think everybody, whoever did some kind of lineup, it's a job, it's almost impossible to be like, to say like, to nail it in a way, because it's like you have to please so many different tastes, so many different people, and it's kind of impossible. So once we kind of shifted the idea towards feelings more than the names and that itself, it made it, I wouldn't say easier, but different. Because if you try to not convince, but to show people that there is something that they can follow on the dance floor, which is more individual or in per person itself, then it's kind of you have another emotion to work with, and I think that gives another perspective.
Yeah, and another point from us is that one thing we started doing, which we found helped a lot in kind of building the trust within our community, is we stopped announcing the lineups. We just didn't put them out. The only way you would find out who's playing is if you went and you saw the people playing there. And it kind of nurtured the community, because it stopped the people who just wanted to come to see some big names coming, and the regulars would come because they trusted that we would give them something that they'd like. And sometimes we'll throw some curveballs in there just to keep people, you know, on their toes, and some people like that, and it's kind of educated the people to listen to different kinds of music. You know, it's primarily a techno party, but we're booking all sorts of genres and just throwing them, sprinkling them in.
I mean, we've started to use the C word more often, so I figure you may as well ask. I mean, because it is something you see. It's like a marketing tool now. You know, you'll see brands using it, like huge corporate brands. But you know, if we were gonna, for each of you, like if you in an ideal world, what do you think community should mean? And like, yeah, like what do you aim for it to be within the context of the events that you're throwing?
Well, I think the word community has been misunderstood, because at some point I think people think that community is like all people like the same, all like are thinking and going for the same reason, or I don't know how to say it, bien común in English. And it is this bien común, how can I say in English? Like
like having everything in common.
Yeah, and it is like this small reason, but actually for me, community is a lot of people that are completely, probably different, but they can be in common in just one thing, and at least tolerate themselves and work together for this. I mean, even work is still like kind of questioning for me, but it's more like recreate or create or living in the same space, even without, think, different than you. For me, this is community. Like, I can speak and dialogue with you even if you have differences with me. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's like it's basically looking from a festival point of view. It's you have one side which is music artists, and then you have the staff, the workers, and then you have the party goers. And I think all of these elements create a community. But you cannot say like four of us we're community now. You know, it's like I mean you could, but it's whatever. And I think it should develop an ecosystem where it's kind of independent and it regulates itself, and it's the main I would say thing is the values, the core values, when it comes to respect, when it comes to equality, when it comes to understanding that not everyone is the same, but if we listen and talk to each other, we can coexist and work together. And once you kind of get that, then we can call a community. And as soon as you kind of start to put certain rules in it, then it's become a little bit more tricky, and then it's questionable whether he's speaking about community anymore, you know, so something like that.
Yeah, I mean, to go to your point about saying that brands throwing this term around a lot now, I think for me, community is something that needs to grow naturally and organically over time. You can't just like throw it together and parade it around on social media. It has to kind of be nurtured with spaces, and it needs spaces for people to spend prolonged periods of time in for it to actually grow. So, yeah.
People in general, I think if you ask them like, oh, do you want more community in dance music? They're going to say yes. They're going to say the same thing about diversity. They're going to say the same thing about non-mainstream music. They're going to say, all these things that people always say that they want. Then when it comes to like what events do they go to, what music do they buy, what artists they support, it doesn't always, there's usually a disparity between what people say and how they act. And I'm curious for the three of you, like how do you reckon with that? Because like you can't, I mean, maybe you do, but I imagine that none of you are just like following every whim. You still have to be somewhat strategic in terms of like who you put on at the events and how you run it, so you're not just like losing a ton of money every time.
I think with us, like when it comes to lineup, for example, we try to be as inclusive as possible, and basically to create, as I've said before, this kind of draft of the lineup, and then we kind of do the overview. Do we include enough of minorities, from people from every cultures? And it's hard because sometimes you feel pressure that you have to do certain things, but we have not the only, but like the top rule, it's never compromise on the music. And I think if you follow that, we still try to be as diverse and to find a balance between it, because eventually this is what we were talking about, to finding a balance. So kind of, you have every community culture, whatever you want to call it, present, and everyone brings their A game in a way, and that's how you can create a perfect, not the perfect, close to perfect environment where everyone kind of feels safe and home and welcome in a way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, for us, I guess it's a tricky one because, like you said, lots of people do like say they want to do this and that, and then they don't actually do it. I think for us to kind of keep it true to our roots and how we've done it throughout the kind of evolution of the venue, and I guess it's just through trying to create this repeated experience that people can come to and share a long period of time and kind of be together with each other in, as opposed to kind of like short snippets of showing what it is and posting it on social media and then cutting it short for people. So yeah.
And well, it is kind of frustrating actually. when you try to bring different stuff and maybe people don't buy it, and it's like, ¿por qué? Why? Didn't like it, or why? You try to understand. We try to like read what is happening in the city, especially as the guys like reading the collective. So probably, and also work with them in a very like horizontal way, like invite them to be part at least to collaborate with the lineup. And that's what we do. And well, at the end, it's like all the time I think when you throw this kind of events, it's like kind of being frustrating. But you have to be also like very stubborn, because it's a very kind of slow way to grow up as a brand. But it helps in the future, and I wish I could be in the future like doesn't bring in names in the lineup. I wish like people come to the party just because they know they're having good music. But of course, when you are building like these kind of new scenes in places like Latin America, that all the time, especially they are all the time, I know everybody in the world, but in Latin America, I mean, the second profession that people wanted to be is influencer. So it's like tough. So imagine to bring that to the table, like you have to bring the names that they want. So at the end, it's like also back again, context, work with the local people, and probably just grow in small steps.
Well, speaking of influencers, I want to ask about not influencers, but they exist on social media, and like it or not, social media is a component of promotion. And I'm curious, how do all of you engage with it? How important is it to your operation and the success of your operation?
Yeah, so social media for us is it's a little bit of a tricky one, because the venue's kind of based around the idea of no photos and videos inside. So we have to kind of use it for like different avenues and kind of be a bit more creative about how we use it. And one thing that our social media team do, which is great, is they kind of use their platform to educate as opposed to just promote and sell tickets. They try and push like social or health or rights issues and educate people in a kind of stewardship way, as opposed to trying to sell, you know. And I feel like when you use it for this, it generates more organic kind of interaction between people, as opposed to just like, you know, tickets selling out soon, buy now sort of thing. It also means that we have to be quite strategic about what we post in terms of content, because we don't have any, because there's nothing from inside the venue really. So we kind of have to show people what we're about without just posting images of what we do. So, you know, it's kind of like a strategic way to go around it, but it seems to be working quite successfully, so it's nice.
Yeah, definitely a tricky one. But I think for us, we have kind of a privilege that we don't have to use social media to sell tickets, because it sort of happens on its own. And then we are like four of us, the core team. We, I think mentally, or like not mentally, but like we are very much old school, so we are not super fond of social media. So we kind of try to use it in a smart way, just to emphasize, I don't know, the meaning of the festival, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to create, and to maybe give the message that like if you want to have the experience, you have to come to the festival, rather than showing off with the flashy videos or whatever. And then try to keep it on a minimum, bare minimum level to survive. But we don't, I mean, it's something that it's been really, as he said, really tricky, because it's something that you cannot run away from, but it's also really hard to manage to be authentic and to be not over pushy, not over sally and anything. So it's a learning process for sure, and I think we are throughout the years getting better and better.
I mean, for us has been like 50 and 50. I'm like we have especially our content, fortunately, is focused in educational stuff, like speaking to the people, also like listen to them, what they want. Because at the end, it's like we are five guys like thinking that we need this, and probably nobody needs it. And like, hey, we want to speak with you. So we do it sometimes like forms, and they can give us feedback, or they want to be like also collaborative. There are volunteers also that help us in the events. So this is how the way we communicate to people. We have to use it. But I think we agree in the group that we doesn't have like the after parties, because like the after kind of post and things also we sometimes have to do it because we win funds and we have to show what we did, whatever. And it's because mainly we want to focus on the voz a voz, como se dice, like speak to
Word of mouth.
word of mouth. Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Word of mouth. And I think has been very helpful because it gives the mystery we want to have in the future, of course. So it is like that.
I mean, a lot of promoters, I think especially younger or newer promoters, will start a party and start an Instagram account and just post the flyer there, and they're like, okay, my promotion is done. Like, people should find out about it. And, you know, we'll get frustrated that doesn't always work. So what do you do beyond social media to, one, promote, and also just stay in touch with this community or audience that you've built?
Yeah, I just finished, so I'm gonna continue. No, what I was going to say is like actually we have an issue in the last event because we're doing like an ad, and we were having a issue with the credit card with this meta thing, whatever, and suddenly we couldn't put an ad, and all the time I was like, oh my god, all these people have the information of the people that I want to bring to my party. I hate these guys. So we started to create like a database, especially emails, and that's how we're now communicating with people in the future. Because at the end, it's like Instagram disappears or whatever, sellers do whatever. It's happened every moment, something strange in this year. So we started to build that, and also especially the workshops and the talks is more outside of what is music related. We have some music related stuff, but when we start to collaborate with more like cultural spaces and something like that, we can make like more things outside of the club. And that's the idea, to give like small events during the year, more focus on that can bring things and bring people, and just keep this conversation outside of social media. But yeah.
Also, like for example, for us in 2019, when we did the first edition, obviously we didn't have any material at all. There was the location itself, which is really beautiful and unique. We did a couple of photos of that, and then tried to smartly, through ads and posts and whatever, attract the right crowd. Eventually, luckily for us, it kind of happened, and then basically it was this. The main thing was this off internet, like they said before, promotion. So basically, people that came spread with their friends, and that kind of brought the attention back to us the following year. So we really were lucky to manage to escape from this heavy online like marketing and pushing, because it can become quite a burden, like content-wise and obviously financial-wise as well. So yeah, I think some.
I guess one way that we do it is that's not related to social media is we kind of do like quite a lot of organic outreach by traveling and sending our residents out to meet other crews and meet other like-minded people. And then we'll often, once we connect and make these networks, we'll bring them back and share our space with them. Once we've and that kind of helps in to build these natural kind of networks. Just kind of showing what we do and what other like-minded people do to people who might not necessarily see it on our kind of social medias because they're in a different place and they're not within that bubble sort of thing. So that kind of helps in expanding it just outside of our local little echo chamber.
Maybe to add one thing, as she said, we also grew throughout the years like a strong newsletter, email, whatever you want to call it, community basically. So we try to communicate the important stuff throughout that. And one thing that we started from the first festival, and we're still doing it now, is to have a feedback forum after the festival. And I think that gives us a good insight and also give people a platform where they can be honest and they can tell what they liked, what they didn't like. In many cases, we already knew and know what is not right, but it's always, I think, nice to show that that we are accepted to hear the negative ones, which is also funny thing. It's psychological. Once you ask people what is wrong with something, they always find something. So when you go through the form, you're like, phew.
Yeah, I mean, you must get some really wild comments.
Oh, it's been many. I don't really remember now, but yeah. You have some people, like some really weird ones that doesn't have anything to do with it, but like mostly people are, I would say, fairly normal with their feedback. So it's nice, but yeah, it's still stressful. Let's say part of the festival.
I wanted to ask. I mean, when you were talking about Fold and sending your residents out into the world, how much is real life interaction important to what you all do? Because so much of electronic music culture happens online now. Whether communication, the way that we learn about music, the way we consume music, so much of it is by yourself. And so, yeah, real life interaction, whether that's at your parties or out in the world, how important is it?
I mean, I think it's personally the most important thing. I feel like nowadays everything is quite manufactured online, and it's the same sort of content of big crowds, big drops, and people can just kind of consume the party from the comfort of their own home, which is not how you make these connections. And also by having everyone filming everything, it kind of breaks the immersion in the space when people are in it. And it's similar to what Eris and Maya were saying in the talk previously about this kind of joint experience, creating something higher. Like if you kind of are already fed it through social media, then you're not going to experience that with people. And it's the actual coming together of people and spending time with other people to build these connections is what actually makes it happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's especially in the current times, maybe the last kind of old school approach where you meet people or interact with people and there's like kind of a reality, not just like online presence. And I think with us, it's like, for example, it's very important that all the artists that come, that really truly feel part of it. So, we really invest in the sense to have a big hospitality team, to have somebody for the artists pretty much there like all the time. So they feel like not just a random event, like thank you, goodbye, but, rather to have somebody to talk to. If you want space, we give you space. And even we, like the whole core team during the festival, we are on the dance floor all the time, not like in offices or somewhere in the back, because we came from the dance floor and we know how much it's important to be there. That's the only way to see what is working, what is maybe not working. And unfortunately for us, we like to party as well, so we go to other parties as well, and then you meet obviously other people. So yeah, I think it's very important to be present because many times, even now I have a agent that I've been talking to him like for 5 years and we still haven't met. So eventually you would like that these people behind have like faces at the end. So I think that's something we try to be a part of.
I mean, Juliana, obviously there's an ocean in between you and where a lot of the scene or the industry is. So how do you handle trying to make real life connections with people that, aren't accessible?
It's crazy because it's like my first time in Amsterdam in an 80 week. And when I arrived, to the train station, I say, "Whoa, this is real on industry! Wow, like oh my God, all these hats everywhere! Wow." So I thought we still like a small town, but I love it because it's make it special at the end. And actually, I have the same approach that we need to be in the, actually we're like ravers, so we are on the time, like in the dance floor, like watching what is happening. But it's also true that the public is really disconnected right now. And in my city is very conservative. I wish I could put like the political sticker in the cell phone. This is only possible in techno clubs because people know what happened in techno in Europe. So it's like, okay. But if you do it in all the kind of parties, not possible. But we found a way to make people interact in our last party. It was like giving him like a kind of, how can I say, like, and actually this is an idea that doesn't came from, and that's the cool thing to collaborate with people that is not related with raves, because they're bringing like ideas that are doing people normally outside, and it's like, oh, probably in my head I'm just being old school. Okay, let's break it and do it. And it was like 2 numbers, and we gave it to the people, and actually Bamba happened in, we have like our own Valentine's Day, but it's in September. So if, for example, you have one and you have one, and people started to looking out for their one in the, like in the dance floor. So people were like, "Hey, where's the one? I have a one." And people became friends in the party and dance together. And I saw people that stay with this new friend till the end of the party. So for me, it was super successful because was no cell phones on the dance floor that day. Like people were chatting, people were like dancing, just with give this small game at the beginning, and very not related with techno. And I was like with my friend DJ Loma Linda is also part of the Bamba crew, and we were also DJs and very old school, and we were like, we should not do this, but okay, let's do it. And it works really well when you push the boundaries of what you know should be a rave. And at the end, it doesn't hurt. People have fun, everything, and everybody enjoyed it. So, I found that at the moment that the interaction was absolutely needed. Like, hey, what number do you have? Yes, this, cool. Oh, how are you? Good. It's like, you just have to break the glass. So, just a small example of things that you can do in a party. It's beyond social media, I mean, and beyond like everything happened there in the moment. So, and this also helps to develop a really great night. So,
there's a lot of money that has come into dance music, especially in the last like 10 or 15 years, and that's made everything more expensive, more risky, especially if you're trying to do something that's not just like the mainstream obvious stuff. And one thing that I know a lot of events have dabbled in or have turned to is like brand partnerships or sponsorships, which can run very counter to the idea of community and like all the foundational values that this genre is founded upon. So I'm curious, how do each of you approach, if at all, that, brands, because that money can help make your event sustainable, but usually they want something in return.
Yeah, I think like at Fold especially, we try and avoid brand partnerships at all. We kind of focus more on collaborations with other crews, which kind of would be our partnerships, and like festivals and stuff like that. And like if a big brand approaches us, we're like, politely, thank you, no, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we are independent in a way that we don't have any sponsors, major sponsors. And I think at the beginning, the first year or so, obviously you want to reach out. And I think luckily for us, we were too small, so nobody kind of cared. So looking from now, I think it's a good thing. But so we basically don't work with a partnership. The only way we work with partnerships, brands, it's when we do the both parties. So that's the only way we host either a collective, either club, either a record label, and we don't do stage hosting on the like festival itself, but that's the only kind of partnership that we do.
Yeah, I think when we talk to the word underground, is like I wish it could be like the old years, but I think underground, it doesn't exist anymore, and probably this is gonna be very problematic for me to say in English. I'm better smart in Spanish, but to say this, but just to say that I think partnership with brands are in our base kind of a Robin Hood thing, because as I said to you at the beginning of the talk, we have this gentrification, big kind of festivals coming. I mean, in my city, they do Tomorrowland, for example, and it's not happening in any other city of Colombia, just in Medellín. So big brands are coming and taking all the work from the locals and taking everything. And suddenly a brand is coming, okay, Juliana, we have this, you can do whatever you want. But we put our own terms and like in kind of making distribution to pay well to our artists, for example, to it's a 50-50% of local and international. We doesn't pay too much to the international. They came because they wanted to. And we tried not to put ads on the party. It's like, okay, you are giving us this, we can work on this and make this program, and thanks a lot. And we work also with funds from cultural institutions as well, because how's the way we found it to make sustainable in a place like in the third world, to be honest, like it's Medellín, Colombia. Of course that there are other many ways. I truly believe, I wish we could have that way to say no. Sometimes it's not possible for us to say no. It's like, I'm struggling, and people are living about this, and we have this. So what can we do life is contradiction all the time. And I think try to be like how can I say, conserve kind of equity between that. It's at least our major goal, but yeah, it's like it is what it is.
No one's gonna yell at you or anything. It's
No,
okay.
it's okay.
Like,
Throw me a Budweiser can.
I worked at Red Bull Music Academy for many years, so not every brand deal is the same, but most of them are bad. I want to get on the record with that. So should we open it up to questions for the audience? If anyone, just raise your hand and they'll bring you a microphone.
So I was wondering, so there's like this idiom, like giving back to the community. So I was wondering if that is like something that is like on your mind, and if you guys think that is like an essential part of being able to call yourself a community. So
Actually, so the location itself, where is in Tolmin, there's two other festivals, each in on genre. And since we try to work really closely with the community, and all of us use the pay card system, eventually there's a certain amount of money that's been left behind because people don't claim it or whatever. So we create a fund, and all the money goes to the fund, and then we basically work with the municipality, and we select a certain, I think through voting, don't hold me for the word, organizations and like non-profit, and we share like fairly between these organizations. So I think this is something that we try to do. There's other ways, but I think this is the kind of the main way.
Yeah, I think we try and give back to our community by providing them with more spaces to be able to enjoy on the times that they spend with us. Like one thing about London is tricky, as space is so hard to come by and it's so expensive. that most clubs, it's just like dance floor, bar. Every area has to make money. Whereas like what we're trying to do is build spaces where people can just hang out and kind of connect with each other, whether it be like cafe spaces or like places that we can do more educational stuff. Like we're trying to build a record store where we can do like music production workshops and all of this. And I feel like that's a nice way to give back to people because it gives them a space where they can be themselves, whether it be through studios or just chilling areas, you know?
Yeah, for us it's kind of the same. Actually, our main goal is like of the project is to bring those spaces to the people, because of course there's a big ocean. I wish that you can have this kind of things in Medellin. It's not possible, but we try to create when somebody comes. It's like, hey, actually many of them say like, yeah, like that's cool, because there we found a lot of artists from here like want to do something. And people can have this exchange. This is really important to have the exchange and the experience of outside of the rave, of course. And then, of course, the party will be amazing. But I think without giving to people is, I mean, for me, it doesn't have many sense. So we try to do that. And also integrate in our, like another kind of crafts, like in between. It's super nice. It's cool.
Anyone else? Oh, wow, bunch. So,
I think he was the first one raising his arm, so I'm gonna make it quick. So I'm from Cairo, Egypt, and it's a place where the dance music scene is extremely gentrified or highly exclusive to a few bunch. Some of you might have seen the events happening in front of the pyramids and the mega productions and so. And I heard a lot of really good insights in this panel that I might answer my question, but to be a bit more specific, what would your advice be for someone who's trying to create a more natural, authentic dance music scene where I come from, something genuine that's not engineered in a way?
I think kind of stick to your guns and don't try and kind of swerve your tactic because that's what you think will work at the time. Like I said, it takes time to build these things, and it might feel like it's not going anywhere in the first few months, but people will grow, and then it will grow exponentially to the point where like all of a sudden you look around and you're like, wow, I've got all these great people around me. So just like stay true to kind of what you envision is true to yourself, you know?
And also, I feel like trying to find like-minded people, somebody that you feel is on the same page with you, because alone you're gonna hardly make a change. But if it's like a so it's like, and also more people, like the people that go to parties, you know, everyone kind of has to go in the same group of and then it kind of gets power in a way.
It's crazy because actually it sounds really easy. It's like be yourself. It's like you be yourself, but it's like all the time we have this panoptic watching us. Like, who are you? You know. So, but for me, like this, the great way to approach it is how, I hope I can say good in English, like how you want it to be treated, especially it's like, sí, como quiero que me traten, how you want it to be treated. So we
are you breaking out the golden rule right now? Treat others like you yourself want to be treated?
Yeah,
So-
we do that. I tried others like I want to be treated. So it's so easily, but I think it's something that people or we forgot. And at the end, you can build, of course, with a team. It's called kind of related with a team or friends that you have some kind of common things, or probably have the same ideas to bring it together. It's way easier. Collaborate is like a key to be like like to create something, especially in places like that, because in my city it's kind of the same.
All right, another question.
Oh, thank you. Hi. My question is mainly aimed at James and Fold, but I think it could apply for all of you. What was like the turning point of the growth for Unfold? I was lucky enough to go to the 100th one, and it was incredible. But I saw how busy it was, and how did it start, and what was the turning point?
So like, I I think the turning point for us was probably after COVID. Like pre-COVID, when we did the first Unfold, we never intended it to be like a big thing. It was a party on a Sunday for the staff and our friends to all gather on, and most of the DJs didn't show up, so we all ended up playing at it. And like it was just like, you know, it was one of these things, and then it grew, and then COVID happened and it died, and we were doing nothing for 2 years. And when we came back, we were like, look, let's make this regular, let's make this every 2 weeks, and let's commit to doing this all the time. And then I think it's probably around like the 80th edition when we started doing longer and longer events, and we started pushing 24-hour or like 30-hour plus events, that we started looking around and being like, wow, okay, yeah, this is actually something now, we need to nurture this and respect it. And yeah,
it's incredible. And did you find that the community starting out, to get extra people to build on top of that community that were already going, was there anything that, like, other than word of mouth, I guess, but anything that you guys did?
Yeah, I mean, well, like the community themselves, like I still meet people who are like, oh, I was at number 2 and now I told all my friends and now they're at this one and we love it. And I don't get a chance to come so much nowadays, but my friends do, and they're coming. So yeah, like you said, like I think people kind of share the stuff that they love and will bring their friends to it, and that's really worked for us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
All right, another question, maybe back there. Yeah.
You told about learning from your past experiences and seeing what works. How do you decide how to compromise from your own not really values, but what you want out of your party and what people want from your party? How do you decide when to compromise and how to compromise? Or do you compromise or not?
I would say with music, hard to say that we compromise. No, but you always have to compromise, but in a way that it really depends on what the kind of issue or like the problem is. For example, we have a restriction in terms of curfew at 1 a.m. in the morning. So this means that we cannot, and also even when we have music, it cannot go too crazy loud. So how to compromise that? Instead of bringing like the small sound system and push it, we took the big, like heavy, big sound system and really invest into the right technicians and everything. So it's condensed on the dance floor, but around this kind of that, like it's like, you know, it works. So things like that. But yeah, it's this is the fun and the tricky part when you go to the compromises. But this was like one example.
Okay, I think I understand the question, but at least we tried to communicate every time well with the people, and we try to just fit in what we can bring to the table, because we know we are still small and our ideas is like to growing up. But I think we tried is it's very collaborative and try to be horizontal. We have to be like very compromised with everything, especially with the treat to the crew, the artists, and also that people can feel that when they enter to the place. For example, the sound system as well is really important, and we have like set up some kind of, I don't like to call it rules, but it's like we have in the entry of the party like just some cool things that we like you bring to the table as well. And I know there's been a lot working on that here in Europe, like this kind of policies, but we don't like to call it policies. It's more like a welcoming thing, and also that the team that's working with us like help to do that. So it doesn't feel like a compromise in terms like, oh my God, we're not like doing this, because at the end people come also with that energy to the table. But I think it's more like a pre-production work, and of course things can be wrong in a moment, but we have some protocols for that and try to do it at best. If I understand the question, sorry.
All right, I think we have time for one last question. So whoever the microphone gets handed to.
The end. Cover all sides. Thank you. Thank you guys all so much. I run a small event out of Barcelona, and this has been really like inspiring for kind of coming up with what's next for us. And actually, this is something I follow along in Shawn's newsletter too. Like, there's been some kind of spaces in the community there that have had a really hard time with staying open and being able to do what they need to do because of local government restrictions, things to do with that are all connected, you know, tourism, gentrification, everything like that. And so I was wondering, from each of your perspectives, how do you find the spaces where you want to be doing your events so that they match the concept of what you're trying to create? And in the case of Fold, which is like one set space, how do you make that space match the needs for what you're trying to create? I mean, I know I went to Fold for the first time earlier this year, and I noticed that in the main room there was a lot of use of the smoke machine, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I felt like it was even an additional thing to prevent people from going on their phones, because you couldn't take a video or try to do anything like that if you couldn't see the DJ to begin with.
I mean, like, obviously, space in London is very tricky. You kind of have to take what you've got. And when we first had the venue, we just had a little bit of it, and it's kind of built and grown throughout the kind of inception of it, kind of bit by bit. So yeah, I guess we try and, like, at the moment our focus is on building a record store and a cafe to give people more space to kind of spend longer time there, like especially when we're doing the longer events. And this is something that's quite tricky to find in London. As I said previously, like most clubs in London, the layout is very much like bar, dance floor, smoking area. Like, that's it. So like trying to like maximize the space to kind of get these little areas where you can kind of traverse and find corners in, something that is important for people to be able to spend a lot longer in an environment, which is what you want. You want people to spend a long time at your party because that's where they connect.
I mean, for us, it's, location itself, it's really unique and special, and we feel really privileged to be able to do an event there. But as I said, we had challenges with like 1 a.m. curfew. But again, luckily for us, is there's a building, old hotel and casino, so we basically figure like, why not move it inside after 1? So at the end, we started with 3 stages, now we have 9 or 10, I'm not even sure, which is kind of overkill, but it also brings an excitement to all the partygoers and for us as well. And then we figure out it's better to use the environment to emphasize in that kind of thing, like the nature, and to use the lightnings and everything art as a smart add-on to really give people the kind of a playground in a way where they can explore and be whatever they want in a way, you know.
Well, for me, it's like there is they have to be like 3 things. I think it's like, of course, a good structure for people be safe, of course. To be central, at least in my city, it doesn't help too much. I wish people can go outside like here too, but it's like to be central. And I worked for so many years in like illegal raves, but I had certain situations with the police of my city that after that I decided that it has to be a place that have all the permissions. And then also, if they gave me the chance to like rebuild like the place that in that night could look different, it's also another thing, but it's like that.
All right, I think that's all the time we have. So thank you to all the panelists.